I've spoken to a lot of men and women recently. Some are recently divorced. Some are have never
Hmm.
been married, and
Hmm.
they've found always living with a partner quite frustrating. And there's
Hmm.
always an
Hmm.
element, and these I guess aren't
Hmm.
the vaulted relationships we're talking about that are
Right.
ideal, but in
Hmm.
more like everyday normal relationships where
Yeah.
there's a an element of control. Whereas if someone wants to take a trip with their girlfriends or a trip with
Hmm.
their guy friends, the other one
Hmm.
is thinking like, oh, why do they want to spend time away from me?
Yes.
Why do
Yes.
they, someone's afraid of someone else cheating, and there's this
Hmm.
element of fear in
Yeah.
that, which is why I
Hmm.
think more people are going towards open relationships now, where they
Yeah.
want that intimacy at home, but they
Uh-huh.
also want the ability to find other partners and go
Right.
like that. So I'm hearing a lot
Right.
of that from friends, and it's
Yes.
yeah, it's interesting. I think people are rethinking the entire dynamic of what a romantic
Yes.
relationship means. I mean, like you could have more casual, shorter
Hmm.
term
Hmm.
lovers and take trips and be intimate and have
Right.
that closeness. It doesn't have to be this guilt centered idea of like,
Hmm.
oh, it's not married committed sex, so it's
Yeah.
cheapened, it's less, and like
Yeah.
I
No.
don't know. I think we're all
Yeah.
rethinking what
Yes.
society could be. Is that what you're hearing from the people that you're interviewing as well?
Yes. Absolutely. In fact, there are some committed couples who insist that they are single at heart. And and what they tell me is that their lives have a lot of the elements that single people who are single at heart cherish. So they often are much more independent. So they don't have this tightly interconnected, enmeshed lives that some couples do. Some of them even live apart in places of their own, and
Mm,
they have more financial freedom. They keep their accounts separate and are not so controlling about who the other person spends time with and how much time. So, um, so yeah, I do see some of that. And what I love about that is that people want to claim the single at heart label, and I love
right,
that.
right. Yeah, yeah, because that is not a thing that is normally discussed. It's not
Right.
many people, if anyone, I've ever heard saying like, no, I just want to. Like most people that are saying, I just want to stay single, is
Uh-huh.
because they've had a series of horrific relationships or
Yes.
abuse and trauma and things like that, and
Right.
they're just conditioned to believe that any sort of romantic relationship will be disastrous. There's not a lot of people
Yeah.
that are just simply like, no, the relationships I've had have been okay,
Yeah.
but I would like this life of more freedom and with my friends and to explore. And I think,
Yeah. And
there's,
have time to yourself too.
yeah, like not too long ago, I spoke with a financial expert that specializes with people that are child free
Oh,
in the
great.
U.S. And because they say a lot
Uh-huh.
of questions people get are, well, aren't you concerned on who will take care of you when you're older?
Yeah.
And he cited a stat that said only 1 to 2% of children take care of their parents. So
Yeah.
that idea, if that's why you're
Right.
having kids, it's completely
Uh-huh.
bankrupt.
Uh-huh. And when you're single at heart and you are embracing your single life and you're not creating around a life around the expectation that someone's going to be there for you, you can take the necessary steps to be better prepared. And some studies
Huh.
show that people who have stayed single do better in later life than people who were previously married, so the divorced or the widowed. And
Right.
in part, that's because they've learned how to do things. And so, for example, there's something that is an advantage for married couples while they're married, which is that each person doesn't have to do everything. They can split the chores, right? Now, of course,
Right.
there'll be big conflicts over who's not doing their fair share. But nonetheless,
Right.
each person doesn't have to do everything. But then, when the marriage ends by divorce or widowhood, the people are left not knowing how to do half of the tasks or being out of practice. And to have that happen at such a difficult time, like when you're first divorced or first widowed, can be really difficult. And meanwhile, the people who have been single for a long time, especially the single at heart who have invested in their single lives, they already either know how to do all those things, or they figured out how to find people to hire or to help.